Hi, everybody. I see you're ready to hear my story tonight. The Velveteen Rabbit is a special story, and I used to read this story to my little girl, who's now a grown woman, and she's a mom now. But I used to read this story to her, especially when she didn't feel good. She'd like to hear this story. So I'm going to read it to you because I just think you'll love it. And she used to love when I read this to her. But for starts, let's say hi to everybody. I'm glad that I'm able to say hi to Lainey and Nicole and Addison, Chloe, Izzy, and Abby, Katana, Ori, Anthony, Justin, Bella, Skylar, Lukey, and Sophia, Gemma, and Reese, and Sammy, Gigi and Jordan, Livy, Otto, Lily, Timmy, Peter, Jacob, Kimber, and Annie, two sisters, Landon and Charlotte, Marley, Johnny, Odessa, Joey, Paisley, Xavier, and Grace and their new little brother, Jackson, Max, Brianna, and Giada, and Emmy. Hi, everybody. I'm glad you're here tonight. Like I said, I have a really special story that I know you're going to love. It's kind of long, so get snuggled up. And say maybe your mom wants to sit with you and hear this story, or maybe you just want to lay in your bed under your covers and listen, and you can dream about this bunny rabbit. And, of course, here he is, Mr. Adorable. Oh, yes, we just love you. He's going to hear this story, too. And maybe he's thinking about someday when he'll be a real lion. But he's real to us, isn't he? Yes, he is. You got to go sit with the kittens, okay, Mr. Adorable? We'll catch up with you later, you cutie. Okay, here he is, sitting over here with the kittens. Okay. All right, who's ready? I am. All right, everybody. This is our big story night. This is our long story, okay? This story's called The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. Yeah, Marjorie Williams. Make sure I said the right person. Look at that little boy. Isn't he cute? And he's holding that little stuffed bunny rabbit. I love this story. I know you're going to love it too. Okay. There's a lot of nice pictures in here too. I'm going to show all the pictures to you because I love these. I love books that have nice pictures. Yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. There once was a Velveteen Rabbit, and in the beginning he was very splendid. He was fat and bunchy as a rabbit should be. His coat was spotted brown and white, and he had real whiskers made of thread. And his ears were lined with pink satin. On Christmas morning, he sat wedged at the top of the boy's stocking, left by Santa. And here's this little boy opening his Christmas gifts, and he sees that velvet rabbit. And there's that bunny rabbit. He got that for Christmas. Isn't that rabbit cute? Nice little stuffy to sleep with, huh? Yeah. Yeah. There were other things in the stocking and under the tree. But the rabbit was quite the best of all. For at least 2 hours, the boy loved on him. And then aunts and uncles came over, and there was a great rustling of paper and gifts to open, and snacks to be eaten, and cider to be drank, and the excitement of looking at all the new presents. The Velveteen Rabbit was forgotten. That's okay. For a long time, he lived in the toy cupboard in the nursery, and no one thought very much about this Velveteen Rabbit. He was naturally shy, and he was only made of velvet, and some of the more expensive toys didn't want to play with him. The mechanical toys were very superior, and they looked at the Velveteen Rabbit. They were full of modern ideas, and they pretended they were real. The model boat, who lived through two Christmas seasons and lost most of his paint, caught the tone from them and never missed an opportunity to refer to himself in technical terms. What does that mean? Well, that boat was just a show-off toy. He was showing off to all the other toys, acting like he was so special. I guess all toys are special, though. Well, we're talking about this baby rabbit. Even Timothy, the jointed wooden lion who was made by soldiers, he should have had broader views, pretended like he didn't care about the velvet rabbit. And here's all the toys in the nursery. These are all the toys. So, where's that bunny rabbit? I don't even see him in there. Nope, there's the lion, though. And there's the truck. and truck, clown. Yeah. Okay. So that's that with that page. Let's see what happens here. So the other toys in the nursery don't like the Velvet Rabbit. Why? I think it's adorable. And the big horse, the big stuffed horse, had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. This is the big stuffed horse. He is big, huh? He lived in that nursery longer than any of the others, and he was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and the seams were showing underneath. He was getting worn out. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of toys come and go. So he knew that they were only toys, and they would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only certain playthings that are old and wise and experienced understand. "What is real?" asked the Velveteen Rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery floor before Nana came in to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside of you?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the horse. "It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. Not just to play with, but really loves you. Then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the Velvet Rabbit. "Sometimes when you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once or bit by bit?" "It does not happen all at once," said the horse. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily or have to be kept carefully. So toys that they can't really play with, the toys that might break, they might not become real in this magical story. Oh, you don't want to see that page. You want to see that page. There's that horse again. Look at him. There he is. He's on wheels. Looks like a pretty fun thing to play with, huh? Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. That's because you love on a toy so much, you love your stuffies so much, they start to get worn out. But that makes them even nicer. And I think that's what this horse was trying to tell the Velvet Rabbit. Okay, the rabbit sighed. He thought it would be a long time before this magic called real would happen to him. He longed to become real. He longed to become real, to know what it felt like, and yet the idea of growing shabby and losing his eyes and whiskers made him feel kind of sad. He wished that he could become real without these uncomfortable things happening. So he's not realizing that just from the boy playing with him so much, and he'll just get worn out because he'll start to get old. But that's okay. Oh, wait till you see this. Look at this picture of this little boy with that bunny rabbit in his bed. I love that. There was a person called Nana who ruled the nursery. Sometimes she took no notice of what playthings were lying about, and sometimes for no reason whatsoever. She went swooping about and hustled the toys away into the cupboard. She called this tidying up. She was cleaning up the toys off the nursery floor. There we go. Okay. The rabbit didn't mind it so much, for wherever he was thrown, he came down soft, because he was just full of stuffy, and he had soft velvet fur. One evening, when the boy was going to bed, he couldn't find the usual doggie that he slept with. Nana was in a hurry, and it was too much trouble to hunt for that stuffed dog. So she simply looked around and saw the door was open, and she made a swoop. "Here, take this old bunny, the Velveteen Rabbit. He'll sleep with you." And she dragged the rabbit out by one ear and put him into the boy's arms. That night, and for many nights after, the Velveteen Rabbit slept in the boy's bed. At first he found it uncomfortable, but the boy hugged him very tight, and sometimes he rolled over on him. And sometimes he pushed him so far under the pillow that the rabbit could hardly breathe. And he missed, too, those long moonlit hours in the nursery when all the house was silent, and he had his talks with the horse. So the rabbit was happy to be loved up by this boy, but he did miss playing with the other toys in the nursery, especially at night when all the house was quiet and the toys played together. They don't really play together, but it's a nice story. Oh, look at this. So cute. But very soon, let's see, where are we here? But very soon he grew to like it, for the boy used to talk to him and make nice tunnels for him under the blankets that he said were like burrows that real rabbits lived in. And they had played splendid games together. They whispered, and when Nana had gone away to get ready to go to her bed, and she left the nightlight burning on the mantle, the boy would drop off to sleep, and the rabbit would snuggle down under his warm little chin, and the little boy would hold him close all night long. And so as time went on, and the little rabbit was happy, so happy he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabby and starting to wear off, and his tail became unsewn and loose, and all the pink rubbed off his little nose where the boy had kissed him so many, many times. He loved that little bunny rabbit to sleep and play with, huh? Look how nice that. He just loves that bunny rabbit. Bunny rabbit, bunny rabbit. Okay, oh, look at this picture. It's just a picture, not even any words, because that's just so nice. Look at him out in the yard playing with his toys on a blanket in the sun. He's got a turtle there that he's playing with, and his bunny rabbit sitting there watching. I love this. And that little boy's pretty cute. Oh, boy. Look at this picture. There's Nana outside with a candle. She's looking. What do you hear what she's looking for? Spring came, and they had long days in the garden. For wherever the boy went, the rabbit went too. He had rides in the wheelbarrow and picnics on the grass and lovely fairy huts built for him under the raspberry bushes behind the flower beds. And once, when the boy was called away suddenly to go in to have his dinner, the rabbit was left out on the lawn until long after dark. And Nana had to come out and look for him with a candle, because the boy couldn't go to sleep unless he had his bunny rabbit. The bunny rabbit was wet from the dew and quite earthy from diving into the burrows with the boy. He smelled like grass that the boy had made for him in the flower beds, and Nana grumbled, and she wiped him off with the corner of her apron. So Bunny Rabbit was left out, and she went out and got him. He had to clean him off so that he could sleep with the little boy again that night, because that little boy said, "I want my bunny rabbit. I need to have my bunny rabbit." Oh, this is so cute. Look at them. He's so happy he got his bunny. Nana found his bunny rabbit for him. "You must have your old bunny. Fancy all that fuss for just a toy," she said. The boy sat up in bed and stretched out his hands. "Give me my bunny rabbit. Bunny rabbit, bunny rabbit. I want my bunny rabbit." "You mustn't say that. He's a toy." "He is not real." "He isn't a toy," said the boy. "He is real, Nana." When the little rabbit heard that, he was so happy, for he knew what the horse meant when he said that he would become real. The nursery magic had happened, and he was a toy no longer. He was real. The boy himself had said it. That night he was almost too happy to sleep, and so much love stirred in his little sawdust heart that it almost burst. And into his boot-button eyes that had long ago lost their polish, there came a look of wisdom and beauty, so that even Nana noticed the next morning when she picked him up. "I declare, if that old bunny hasn't gotten quite a knowing expression," said Nana. That little boy looked so happy to have that rabbit. That little stuffed bunny rabbit. It's just a toy, but he just loves that bunny rabbit so much. That to that little boy, that bunny rabbit was real. And that's what the horse was talking about. When you get loved up by your little friends, you become real. Oh, look at this. He's outside blowing bubbles. Fix this again. Aren't these nice pictures? That was a wonderful summer. Near the house where they lived, there was woods, and in the long June evenings, the boy liked to go there after tea to play. He took the Velveteen Rabbit with him, and before he wandered off to pick flowers, or play at the brigades among the trees, he always made the little bunny rabbit a little nest somewhere among the grass where he would be quite cozy, for he was a kind-hearted little boy, and he liked his bunny rabbit to be comfortable. One evening, while the rabbit was laying there alone, watching the ants that ran to and fro in the grass, he saw two strange things creep out of the tall grass near him. They were rabbits, much like himself, but quite furry and brand new. They must have been very well made, for no seams showed at all, and they changed their shape in a queer way when they moved. One minute they were long and thin, the next fat and bunchy, instead of always staying the same like he did. Their feet patted softly on the ground, and they crept quite close to him, twitching their noses, while the rabbits stared hard at them to see which side of them would work best. For he knew that people who jump usually have to be wound up. He's thinking of toys that you wind up and jump. He thinks that these are real bunny rabbits, and he thinks that they're toys. They were some kind of new rabbit altogether. They stared at him, and the little Velveteen bunny rabbit stared back. All the time, all of their noses were twitching. All their noses. "Why don't you get up and play with us?" said one of them. "I don't feel like it," said the Velveteen Rabbit, for he didn't want to explain why he couldn't move on his own, because he was just a toy, and they were real bunnies. And they didn't know that was just a stuffed toy. They thought he was real too. And here they are. Here they are looking at the toy. There's the two bunny rabbits out there, and there's the Velveteen Rabbit toy. "Ho, ho, ho," said the furry rabbit. "It's as easy as anything," and he gave a big hop sideways and stood on his hind legs. "I can do that. I can jump higher than anything," and he thought of when the little boy threw him up in the air. Of course, he didn't want to tell them that, because then they would know he was a toy. "Can you hop on your hind legs?" That was a dreadful question, for the Velveteen Rabbit had no hind legs. He was just made all in one piece. "I don't want to," he said. But the wild rabbits had very sharp eyes, and this one stretched out his neck and looked. "He hasn't got any hind legs," he said. "Fancy a rabbit without legs," and he began to laugh. "I do so have legs," cried the little Velveteen Rabbit. "I've got legs. I'm sitting on them." "Then stretch them out and show us. Just like this," said the wild rabbits, and they began to dance round and round and round till the little rabbit got quite dizzy watching. "I don't like dancing. I'd rather sit still," said the Velveteen Rabbit. But all the while he was longing to dance, for a funny new tickly feeling ran through him, and he felt he would give anything in the world to be able to jump about like those rabbits did. That strange rabbit stopped dancing and came quite close. He came so close this time that his long whiskers brushed against the Velveteen Rabbit's ear. Then he wrinkled his nose and flattened his ears and jumped back. Let's get this big page here. It's a big book. Okay, guys. "He doesn't smell right," said the bunny rabbits. "He doesn't smell like a bunny rabbit at all. I don't think he's real." "I am real. I am real," said the Velveteen Rabbit. "I am real. The boy said so." And he nearly began to cry. Just then there was a sound of footsteps, and the boy ran near them. And with a stamp of feet and a flash of white tails, the two real rabbits dashed away. "Come back and play with us," called the little bunny rabbit. "Do come back. I know I'm real," said the Velveteen Rabbit. But there was no answer, only the ants running to and fro. And again the Velveteen Rabbit was all alone. "Oh dear," he thought, "why did they run away like that? Why couldn't they stop to talk to me?" Here's the little boy walking through the woods, getting ready to go back home. For a long time he lay very still, watching the grass sway back and forth and hoping they would come back, but they never came back. They never returned. And presently the sun sank lower, and the little white mouse fluttered out, and the boy came and carried him home. And here is the little boy. He just loves that toy bunny rabbit. Weeks passed, and the little Velveteen Rabbit grew very old and shabby, but the boy loved him very much. He loved him so much that he loved all the whiskers off and all the pink lining in his ears, and his brown spots began to fade. He even began to lose his shape, and he scarcely looked like a rabbit at all anymore, except to the boy. To him, he was always beautiful, and that was all that the little rabbit cared about. He didn't mind how he looked to other people because the nursery magic made him real. And when you're real, shabbiness doesn't matter. And then one day, the little boy became ill. His face grew very flush, and he talked in his sleep, and his little body was so hot that it burned the bunny rabbit when he slept so close. Strange people came in and out of his nursery, and the light burned all night long. Through it all, the little Velveteen Rabbit just lay there, hidden from sight under the blankets, and he never stirred, for he was afraid that if they found him, someone might take him away, and he knew the boy needed him. It was a long, weary time, for the boy was too ill to play, and the little rabbit found it rather dull and boring with nothing to do all day long. But he snuggled down patiently and looked forward to the time when the boy would be well again, and they would go out into the garden amongst the flowers and the butterflies and play splendid games in the raspberry bushes, just like they used to. All sorts of delightful things he planned, and while the boy lay, half asleep, very ill, he crept up close to the pillow and whispered them in his ear. He whispered to that little boy, that little sick boy, that when you get better, we're going to go back out and play, just like we used to in the garden. All sorts of delightful things, and presently the fever turned, and the boy started to get better. He was able to sit up in bed and look at picture books. All the while, his little rabbit was cuddled close at his side. And one day, they let the boy get out of bed, and he got dressed. Isn't that something? Look at this picture. That poor little boy was so sick. Now he's better, thank goodness. There he is, sitting out on the porch. He's out here on the porch. There he is. And there's his bed. Let me turn it this way, it's easier to see. There's the little boy sitting out on the porch. And there's Nana. She's cleaning up, getting fresh, and put fresh sheets on the bed and getting the room all cleaned up because now the little boy's all better. Okay? It was a bright and sunny morning, and the windows stood wide open. They had carried the boy out onto the balcony and wrapped him in a blanket, and the little rabbit lay tangled up amongst the bed blankets, thinking. The boy was going to go to the seashore the next day. Everything was arranged, and now it only remained to carry out the doctor's orders. They all talked about it. All the grown-ups talked, while the little bunny rabbit laid under the bed blankets with just his head peeping out, and he listened. The room was to be disinfected, and all the books and toys that the boy had played with while he was sick must be burned. Hooray, thought the little rabbit. Tomorrow we're going to the seashore. For the boy had often talked of the seashore, and he wanted to see the big waves coming and going, the tiny crabs and sand castles too. Just then Nana caught sight of him. How about this Velveteen bunny rabbit, this old bunny? She said. That, said the doctor, that has a bunch of germs, scarlet fever germs. That toy must be burned. What nonsense. We will just get him a new one. He mustn't have that old Velveteen Rabbit anymore. Oh no. So the little rabbit was put into a sack with old picture books and other rubbish and carried out to the end of the garden behind the chicken house. Oh my goodness. Behind the chicken house was a fine. There, here it is. He's in the sack. He's laying in the sack, waiting for the gardener to come and burn it. The gardener was just too busy that evening to attend to a bonfire. But that night the boy had to sleep in a different bedroom, and he had a new bunny to sleep with. It was a splendid bunny, all white with real glass eyes, but the boy was too excited to care very much about it, for tomorrow he was going to the seashore. And that in itself was such a wonderful thing, he just couldn't think of anything else. So he wasn't thinking about where was his old bunny rabbit. He was just excited to get up and go to the seashore the next day. While the boy was asleep, dreaming of the seashore, the little rabbit laid among the old things in the corner behind the chicken house, and he felt very, very lonely. The sack had been left untied, and so by wriggling a bit he was able to get his head through the opening and look out. He was shivering a little, for he had always been used to sleeping in bed with the little boy. And by this time his coat was worn so thin from all that loving and hugging, it was no longer warm for him. Nearby he could see the raspberry bushes growing tall and close like a jungle, and in the shadows where he and the boy had played in bygone mornings, and he thought of those long sunlit hours in the garden. How happy they were, and a great sadness came over him. He seemed to see them all pass before him, each more beautiful than the other, all the memories of he and the boy playing out in the woods. Isn't that something? Okay. Let's see here. This next page and see what happens. This little bunny rabbit. Look at this picture. That looks like a garden fairy. I'll let you see it while I read, okay? And then a strange thing happened, for where the bunny rabbit had begun to cry. I forgot to tell you that. The bunny rabbit started to cry. Where the tear had fallen, a flower grew out of the ground. A mysterious flower, not at all like the ones that grew in the garden. It had a slender green leaf, the color of emeralds, and a blossom like a golden cup. It was so beautiful that the little bunny rabbit forgot about crying and just lay there watching it. The blossom opened up and out stepped a fairy. There she is. Isn't she beautiful, huh? She was quite lovely. Her dress was of pearl and dewdrops, and there were flowers around her neck and in her hair, and her face was like the most perfect flower of all. She came close to the little rabbit, gathered him up in her arms, and kissed him on his little velveteen nose. "Little rabbit, don't you know who I am?" she said. The Velveteen Rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him he had seen her face before, but he couldn't think of where. She is beautiful, huh? "I am the nursery magic fairy," she said. "I take care of all the playthings that children have loved. And when they are old and worn out, and the children don't need them anymore, then I come and take them away with me and turn them into real." "Wasn't I real before?" asked the Velveteen Rabbit. "You were real to the boy," said the fairy, "because he loved you so much. Now you shall be real to everyone." And she held that little rabbit close in her arms, and she flew him into the woods. Isn't that beautiful? This. It was light now, for the moon had risen. All of the forest was beautiful, and the bracken shone like frosted silver. In the open glade between the tree trunks, the wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they all stopped. They stopped dancing and stood around in a ring and stared at her. "I've brought you a new playfellow," said the fairy. "You must be very kind to him and teach him all that he needs to know to live in Rabbitland, for he's going to live with you forever and ever." And she kissed that little Velveteen Rabbit again, and she put him down on the grass. "Run and play, little Velveteen Rabbit." But the little rabbit sat quite still for a moment, never moved. For when he saw all the wild rabbits dancing around him, he suddenly remembered about his hind legs. He didn't want them to see that he didn't have any. He did not know that when the fairy kissed him, that was for the last time she changed him. He might have sat there for a long time, too shy to move. if something hadn't tickled his nose. And before he thought what he was doing, he lifted his hind toe to scratch it. He found that he actually had hind legs. Instead of dingy velveteen, he had brown fur, soft and shiny. His ears twitched by themselves, and his whiskers were so long they brushed the grass. He gave one leap of joy, and using those hind legs was so great that when he went springing about onto the turf, jumping sideways and whirling around as the others did, he grew so excited that when he last did he stop, he looked for the fairy, but she was gone. He was a real rabbit at last, and hung with all the other rabbits. Oh, that is just wonderful. Oh, here we are. Autumn passed, and winter, and then spring again. And when the days grew warm and sunny, the boy went out to play in the woods behind the house. And while he was playing, 2 rabbits crept out from the bracken and peeped at him. One of them was brown all over, but the other had strange markings under his fur, as though long ago he had been spotted, and the spots still showed through. And about his little soft nose and his round black eyes there was something familiar. So the boy thought to himself, "Why, he looks just like my old bunny rabbit that I lost when I was sick with scarlet fever." But he never knew that it really was his own bunny rabbit who'd come back to look at the child who first helped him to become real. And there he is. Bunny rabbit, I want my bunny rabbit. And that bunny rabbit became real because the nurse or the garden fairy came and gave him a kiss, because he couldn't be used anymore by the little boy, but he was loved so much that he was loved to be real. And that's the story of the Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. And the drawings are by Donna Green. Very nice, ladies. I love this book. This has always been one of my very favorite stories. Look at this nice picture on the back. This was always one of my very favorite stories, and my little girl liked this when she was little. I used to read this to her all the time. Now she's a grown lady, and she's a mom too. And she still loves the story of the Velveteen Rabbit. And I knew you would too. So, that's it, guys. I want you to get all snuggled up in your bed. Get your special stuffy. If it's a bunny rabbit or a teddy bear or a little doggy, whatever it is that you like to sleep with. Whatever it is that you like to sleep with. Hug it close. Give it lots of loves and kisses. And that bunny rabbit or dog or teddy always will be real to you. That's right. That's what the story is about. Love can make anything happen. And that's what happened in our story tonight. Well, I'm going to say goodnight now. Remember this beautiful story, and I'll see you soon. Mwah. Noni loves you. When you want to hear a story, you come see me, because that's what I do. Noni reads to you. I love you. I'll see you soon. Have sweet, sweet dreams. Good night, everybody.